Let's go!
A former Special Forces operative turned mercenary driver, Frank Martin operates by a strict set of rules for transporting packages. When he discovers his latest cargo is a bound and gagged woman, he breaks his own guidelines, inadvertently becoming entangled in a dangerous human trafficking ring. Forced to protect the woman and expose the ruthless criminals, Frank uses his formidable combat and driving skills to fight for justice.
Hold this guy and tell him to meet.
Here!
Move up.
Deal was transportation for 3. An extra 80 kilos means will not make increases the risk of getting caught. Yes. Which means... Your gun, please.
I need you to take us to Avignon.
Rule number 1.
Rule. game. Oh, my niggas on my family tree. Still got a goddamn.
Oh, don't stay there! Come on, get in! Ah, look! Come on! Don't worry. You okay? You okay? Hold this guy, tell him to meet. Here! Careful! Move up.
Hands on your head. Cha. If she moves, or how did a lowlife like you end up? The delivery will be made. What do you know around? But you won't be here to see us. She won't be coming around.
Bastard. But he was.
Hey guys, today we are strapping in for a high-octane ride through the 2002 action classic, The Transporter. Get ready to dive deep into a world where precision driving meets martial arts mayhem, where rules are meant to be broken, and where a man with a very particular set of skills navigates the treacherous underworld of illegal transportation. We are going to dissect every bone-crunching kick, every impossible car stunt, and every moment that solidified Jason Statham as an undisputed action icon. This is a passion project for me, and a like or a subscribe is the best way to show your support. So if you're on board, join the crew. If not, thanks for watching anyway. Our story kicks off in a dimly lit, nondescript warehouse, the kind where bad decisions are made and even worse packages are exchanged. Frank Martin, our titular transporter, a man of few words but considerable presence, is waiting. His sleek black BMW, a character in itself, idles quietly. The air is thick with anticipation, the hum of the engine a low growl against the night. Soon, a car pulls up, and a quartet of rather nervous-looking men emerge. They're bank robbers, naturally, and they've got a rather bulky haul with them. Frank, ever the professional, maintains his composure, his gaze steady as he takes in the scene. The leader, a twitchy fellow, tries to negotiate, attempting to bump up the payment at the last minute. Frank, displaying the first hint of his rigid code, calmly rejects the change. His price is his price, no haggling, no exceptions. The robbers, perhaps sensing the futility of arguing with a man who looks like he could snap them in half with a stern glance, reluctantly agree.
The exchange is made. Bags of cash for the key to the BMW's trunk.
Frank slides behind the wheel, the leather seat a familiar embrace. He checks his watch, always punctual. But before they can get going, a flurry of blue and red lights erupts outside, painting the warehouse walls with their urgent glow. The police have arrived, sirens wailing like angry banshees. The robbers panic, scattering like startled pigeons. Frank, however, remains unperturbed, a picture of calm efficiency. He fires up the BMW, the engine roaring to life with a satisfying growl, and with a swift, expert maneuver, he peels out of the warehouse, leaving the frantic cops and bungling criminals in his dust. The chase is on, and it's a masterclass in urban evasion. Frank expertly navigates the winding streets, dodging police cruisers with a fluid grace that makes it look almost effortless. The screech of tires, the blare of police horns, the frantic chatter on the radio, it all forms a symphony of chaos that Frank conducts with a maestro's precision. He slips through impossibly tight gaps, executes pinpoint turns, and uses the environment to his advantage, demonstrating a driving skill that borders on the superhuman. It's almost comical how easily he outmaneuvers them, like a shark casually swimming through a school of guppies. Eventually, he arrives at the rendezvous point, a quiet, unassuming spot by the water. The robbers, still looking like they've seen a ghost, emerge from their chase car. Their original plan, naturally, was to ditch Frank after the getaway, but the police presence forced them to stick with him. Now they're attempting to muscle in on his payment. One of them, a particularly beefy individual, tries to intimidate Frank. Bad move. Frank, without breaking a sweat, delivers a swift, brutal strike that incapacitates the thug with a sickening thud. The remaining robbers, clearly outmatched and terrified, quickly back down, hand over the additional cash, and scramble away, presumably to rethink their career choices. Frank, cool as a cucumber, counts his money, adjusts his suit, and drives off, his mission accomplished. Rules 1, 2, and 3. Never change the deal, no names, and never open the package. Simple, right?
The scene shifts to his secluded, perfectly ordered villa nestled by the French Riviera. It's a minimalist's dream, all clean lines and expensive furniture. Frank is the epitome of meticulousness, everything in its place. He washes his car with a fastidious care that borders on therapeutic, the water glistening on the black paint. Later, he's having a quiet dinner with Inspector Tarconi, a local French detective who seems to view Frank with a mixture of suspicion and grudging respect. Their conversation is a delicate dance of veiled questions and evasive answers. Tarconi, with a sly grin, suggests that Frank is probably involved in something illicit, but can never quite pin him down. Frank, meanwhile, deflects with polite but firm denials, maintaining his veneer of legitimate business. It's a charming dynamic, a subtle game of cat and mouse played over a plate of perfectly cooked fish. The next day brings a new assignment, another package in the trunk. This time, it's a rather large, heavy duffel bag. Frank picks it up from a seemingly abandoned location, the exchange brief and anonymous. He's on his way, adhering strictly to his rules. But a flat tire forces him to pull over, a minor inconvenience that quickly escalates. As he's changing the tire, he notices the duffel bag in the trunk is moving. Seriously, how often does that happen? I mean, what kind of inanimate object moves? Curiosity, a dangerous emotion for a man who lives by strict rules, gets the better of him. He opens the trunk. Inside the bag, he finds a young, gagged and bound Asian woman, Lai, with tape over her mouth, struggling desperately. This is a massive violation of rule number 3. He's visibly annoyed, not by her presence necessarily, but by the fact that someone broke his rules by putting a live human being in his trunk without telling him. This is an unexpected deviation from his carefully orchestrated world, and the slight frown on his face tells you he's already planning how to deal with this administrative oversight.
He untapes her mouth, and she immediately starts screaming, a guttural sound of fear and desperation. He calms her down, explaining he's not the bad guy, just the driver. She's terrified, but quickly realizes he's not part of her tormentors. He gives her a soda and some food, a small gesture of humanity. He even lets her use his meticulously clean restroom, which she then promptly tries to escape from through the window. Frank, with a sigh that clearly says "not again," easily apprehends her, a graceful display of minimal effort for maximum effect. He's probably thinking, can't a guy just deliver his package in peace? He eventually drops her off at the designated location, a remote industrial area. He observes from a distance as a group of rather unsavory characters, led by a man named Wall Street, retrieve her. Wall Street, a sleek, menacing figure, seems particularly pleased with his new acquisition. Frank, watching the interaction, feels a flicker of unease. Something about this just doesn't sit right, a subtle dissonance in his otherwise orderly world. His next delivery is a much more straightforward task, 3 heavily armed men for Wall Street. Frank, ever the professional, picks them up. They're a boisterous, trigger-happy bunch, clearly up to no good. During the drive, they boast about their plans to get rid of a witness. Frank, sensing trouble, remains silent, his expression unreadable.
He drops them off, collects his payment, and drives away, but his curiosity is piqued. He returns to the drop-off point, a secluded villa, and observes from a distance. The goons enter, and moments later, a massive explosion rips through the building, a fiery orange blossom against the twilight sky. The ground shakes, debris flies, and the deafening roar echoes through the quiet evening. He realizes, with a dawning horror, that those men were sent to kill Lai, and he was unwittingly involved. He's been played, and his rules have been exploited. This is more than just a broken rule, it's a violation of his personal moral code. He decides then and there that this is not acceptable. Frank returns to Wall Street's villa, intending to confront him. He parks his car some distance away and approaches on foot, a silent shadow in the night. He expertly disarms the security system, a series of precise movements that speak of years of training. He slips inside, the luxurious interior, a stark contrast to the violence he expects to unleash. He finds Wall Street meeting with other associates, discussing their nefarious human trafficking operations. Frank listens, his jaw tight, his resolve hardening. He confronts Wall Street, demanding answers. Wall Street, a man who clearly underestimates everyone, feigns ignorance, then tries to have his men deal with Frank. This, of course, is a grave miscalculation.
What follows is an incredibly choreographed fight scene, a ballet of brutality. Frank, facing multiple armed opponents, doesn't just fight, he improvises. He uses every element of the environment to his advantage. A chair becomes a shield, a table a launching pad. He ducks, weaves, and strikes with devastating accuracy. The thud of his fists connecting with bone is sickeningly real, the grunts of pain from his assailants punctuated by his own controlled breathing. He's not just strong, he's resourceful. He takes out several men with ease, demonstrating his superior hand-to-hand combat skills. Wall Street, visibly shaken, watches his men fall like dominoes. Just when Frank seems to have the upper hand, Lai appears, having somehow escaped the burning villa. Her presence complicates things, giving Wall Street an opening. He grabs her, using her as a human shield, and makes his escape, leaving Frank fuming. Frank, now with a personal vendetta and a sense of responsibility for Lai, follows Wall Street to a secluded garage. The chase leads to another iconic action sequence. Wall Street's men ambush Frank inside the garage, a dark, oily, metallic space. The floor is slick with oil, the air thick with exhaust fumes. This isn't a clean, choreographed fight. It's a messy, desperate brawl. Frank, slipping and sliding on the greasy floor, adapts instantly. He uses the oil to his advantage, kicking it at his opponents, making them lose their footing. He even uses the mechanic's tools and equipment as weapons, a wrench, a chain, a car jack. At one point, he famously uses pedals from a car hoist to propel himself, delivering a series of acrobatic kicks and punches. It's inventive, brutal, and utterly captivating. The clang of metal, the slick squelch of oil, the heavy breathing of the combatants, every sound contributes to the visceral intensity. This guy isn't just a driver, he's a human Swiss Army knife of combat. Seriously, who thinks to use a car pedal as your weapon? Frank Martin, that's who. Meanwhile, Inspector Tarconi, still investigating the various suspicious activities in the region, has been keeping tabs on Frank. He arrives at the scene of the explosion, then the garage, always a step behind, piecing together the puzzle. He's smart, though, and begins to suspect Frank's involvement, not as a criminal, but as something more complicated. He finds Frank cleaning up the garage, looking almost apologetic about the mess he's made of Wall Street's property. There's a brief, tense standoff, a silent acknowledgement between them. Tarconi, instead of arresting Frank, seems to offer a cryptic warning, a subtle hint that he knows more than he lets on, and that he might even be on Frank's side, at least emotionally. Frank, now truly committed to rescuing Lai, heads to his villa. He finds Lai hiding there, having made her way back after her escape. She's shaken, but determined. She reveals that Wall Street is her father, but he's a monstrous figure, trafficking his own people. This revelation adds another layer of emotional complexity to Frank's mission. He's not just rescuing a package, he's saving a person from her own family, a man who represents the absolute worst of humanity. Their dynamic begins to shift from a transactional one to a partnership. She's no longer just a package, she's an ally, offering insights into Wall Street's operation. The two begin to formulate a plan. Lai explains Wall Street's network, his contacts, and the modus operandi of his human trafficking ring. They realize that Wall Street is planning another major shipment. Frank, with Lai's help, uses his connections to track down Wall Street's next move. This involves a bit of undercover work, some surveillance, and Frank looking exceptionally brooding in various shadows. They discover that Wall Street is transporting a large group of people via cargo containers, destined for a remote port. The scale of the operation is horrifying, the casual disregard for human life sickening. Frank and Lai infiltrate one of Wall Street's warehouses, hoping to gather more intel or perhaps even free some of the captives. They find several cargo containers packed with terrified people. The air is thick with desperation and the metallic tang of fear. Frank's sense of justice is now fully ignited. He's no longer just a driver, he's a rescuer. They manage to free a few people, but the alarm is tripped. Another frantic chase ensues, with Wall Street's heavily armed goons hot on their heels. Frank, with Lai beside him, navigates the labyrinthine corridors of the industrial complex, his movements fluid and precise. The cacophony of gunfire echoes around them, ricocheting off the metal walls. They eventually escape the warehouse, but the pursuit continues onto the open road.
Frank, back in his element, drives with an almost supernatural skill, his BMW a blur of speed and controlled aggression. He performs incredible stunts, weaving through traffic, dodging bullets, and outsmarting his pursuers on every turn. The engine screams, tires burn, and the wind whips around them, a testament to Frank's unwavering focus. It's an exhilarating sequence full of near misses and impossible maneuvers, proving once again that Frank Martin is probably the best driver in cinematic history. Seriously, some of the things he does with that car defy the laws of physics, but in the best possible way.
Their journey leads them to a bus station, a bustling hub of ordinary life that suddenly becomes a battleground. Tarconi, having followed Frank's trail, makes his presence known. He tries to apprehend Frank, believing him to be the mastermind behind some of the chaos. There's a brief, intense standoff, a clash of intentions. But before Tarconi can fully act, Wall Street's men arrive, guns blazing, transforming the public space into a chaotic shootout. Frank, ever the protector, immediately shifts his focus to defending Lai and the innocent bystanders. He uses his combat skills to disarm and incapacitate Wall Street's thugs, his movements a blur of fists and feet. Tarconi, witnessing the sheer brutality of Wall Street's men and Frank's selflessness, begins to understand the true nature of the situation. He sees that Frank is not the enemy, but a reluctant hero. During the melee, Lai is recaptured by Wall Street. Frank, fueled by a mixture of anger and a growing affection for Lai, gives chase. The bus station fight is a frantic, close-quarters brawl, punctuated by the sharp cracks of gunshots and the screams of fleeing civilians. Frank moves with a calculated ferocity, taking down multiple opponents with a grim determination. He's like a human cyclone, leaving a trail of unconscious thugs in his wake. Tarconi, seeing the bigger picture, discreetly helps Frank, subtly hindering Wall Street's men while pretending to maintain law and order. It's a fun, unspoken alliance, a nod of respect between two men on opposite sides of the law, but sharing a common goal: justice. Frank tracks Wall Street and Lai to a remote airfield. The villain's plan is to transport the trafficked people, including Lai, by plane. Frank arrives just as the cargo plane is preparing for takeoff, its massive engines roaring, stirring up dust and debris. This is the climax, and it's gloriously over the top. Frank, realizing he can't get inside the plane directly, improvises with typical Frank Martin flair. He drives his BMW onto the plane just as it's moving down the runway, a ludicrously awesome maneuver that screams action movie. The car slides in, barely fitting through the cargo bay doors. He's now inside a moving plane, a metallic beast hurtling towards the sky.
The fight inside the plane is an enclosed, claustrophobic ballet of violence. Frank confronts Wall Street and his remaining henchmen, the hum of the aircraft engines a constant, vibrating backdrop to the chaos. Frank fights with everything he has, each punch and kick delivered with a desperate intensity. He uses the confined space to his advantage, bouncing off walls, dodging projectiles, and delivering brutal, close-quarters blows. The cabin shakes and groans with the force of the fight, the metallic clatter of the struggle adding to the tension. He manages to overpower Wall Street's men, freeing Lai and the other captives. But Wall Street, ever the slimy villain, tries one last desperate move, threatening to throw Lai out of the plane. In a thrilling struggle, Frank manages to subdue Wall Street, securing Lai and the others. The pilot, now aware of the melee in the cargo hold, makes an emergency landing, bringing the plane down with a bumpy but ultimately safe thud. Frank, ever the rescuer, ensures Lai and the other victims are safe. Wall Street was captured, his reign of terror over. But the ordeal isn't quite finished. Wall Street's final cargo, a bus full of trafficked people, is still en route to the port, unaware that their master has been apprehended. Frank, with Lai's urgent information, knows he has to intercept it. He jumps back into his trusty BMW, now a bit battered but still roaring with life, and sets off in pursuit. The chase sequence is epic, a desperate race against time. Frank navigates through winding coastal roads, his driving skills pushed to their absolute limit. The bus, driven by Wall Street's remaining cronies, barrels down the road, oblivious to the impending intervention. Frank catches up to the bus, his BMW weaving expertly around it, attempting to force it to stop. The goons on the bus fire at him, the impact of bullets against his car a constant jarring percussion. He engages in a daring game of vehicular combat, smashing into the bus, trying to disable it. It's a chaotic symphony of screeching metal and shattering glass. He finally manages to get ahead of the bus and, in a moment of sheer ingenuity and incredible recklessness, maneuvers his car to attach a grapple hook to the front axle of the bus. He then ties the other end of the grapple to a large, empty shipping container that just happens to be conveniently placed by the side of the road. Talk about perfect timing, right? This move, frankly, is peak action movie physics, and we love it. The bus, now tethered to the immovable container, is ripped off its wheels, flipping and crashing with a colossal crunch of metal and shattering glass. The sound is deafening, a visceral symphony of destruction.
Frank then races to the overturned bus, battling the remaining henchmen who emerge from the wreckage, dazed but still dangerous. He engages them in a final, brutal hand-to-hand fight amidst the twisted metal and scattered debris. Each punch lands with a sickening thud, each kick is delivered with a snap. He dispatches them quickly and efficiently, his mission almost complete. He then carefully extracts the terrified but ultimately safe trafficked people from the crumpled bus, his expression a mix of relief and grim satisfaction. Lai is there, assisting him, her strength and resolve now fully apparent. Inspector Tarconi arrives, sirens wailing, just as Frank is ensuring everyone's safety. Tarconi takes in the scene, the overturned bus, the defeated goons, Frank standing amidst the chaos like a weary guardian angel. There's a brief silent exchange between the two men. Tarconi, with a knowing look, realizes Frank has done his job, perhaps not by the book, but with a moral compass that points true north. He allows Frank to disappear into the crowd, a silent acknowledgement that some lines are meant to be blurred for the greater good. Frank walks away, his mission truly accomplished, his rules broken, but his humanity restored. He's learned that sometimes breaking the rules is the only way to do the right thing, a lesson etched into his stoic demeanor. As Frank disappears into the anonymity of the crowd, the true weight of his actions settles. He started as a man bound by rigid rules and almost robotic adherence to a code of conduct. Yet the simple act of opening a package, of seeing another human being in distress, irrevocably altered his path. He chose compassion over contract, justice over personal gain, proving that even the most disciplined among us can be moved by the plight of others. His journey reminds us that heroism isn't always about grand gestures, but often about the quiet decisions to stand up against injustice, to break away from the comfortable neutrality, and to become a protector for those who cannot protect themselves. The Transporter is a quintessential early 2000s action flick, showcasing Jason Statham in his prime. Its relentless pace, inventive fight choreography, and utterly ridiculous but endlessly entertaining car stunts make it a blast from start to finish. It's a movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, perfectly balancing gritty action with a knowing wink to the audience. It solidified the transporter trope and gave us a stoic, stylish anti-hero whose rules were made to be broken. A truly unforgettable ride.